evening, everyone. How's it going? Hi. Welcome. I'm glad everyone's here. It's snowy. It's cold. I think there's a special reason why half of y'all are here, but we'll get to that here in a minute. I'm so excited to see each and every one of you here tonight. If you couldn't tell from the video, Ryan is probably gonna kill me because I keep forgetting to get the cord to make it not lag. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have a video that doesn't lag. Free Recovery Community is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. We're not a 12-step program, so as you saw on the sign out front, there is a photo release. If you don't want your picture taken, just let me or Christian know. We'll make sure your picture is not in anywhere. But we aren't a 12-step program. We're a group of people that just come together and explore spiritual questions and how we can grow together spiritually in a way that's inclusive and roomy and not exclusive in doctrine or based anything like that. So,
welcome everyone. My name is Shelly.
hi, Shelly.
Welcome. This is such a good turnout. I'm so excited. We had to bring out some extra chairs.
Yes.
But there's one thing that we don't do here at Free, and that is shame. And every week we like to say it together on the count of 3. So on the count of 3, we'll all say we don't do shame. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame.
I didn't even shame Shelly for buying that Bears hoodie today. She didn't wait until the bandwagon took off. She waited until it was full scale.
Oh, my face is turning red.
A couple quick announcements before we get started. The first one is, we'll pause. It's that we don't do shame, yeah. That's a great first one. The first one is connect with us. So we do send out weekly emails. My sponsor actually moved to Minneapolis, and I was on the phone with him this week, and he's like, I love getting the emails. They're like a little preview, a little like spiritual note that comes in once a week. Keeps you updated on stuff that's happening around. So you can either scan this QR code, we'll get you connected, or there are, if we sort through some of the chairs back there, there is a connect table over there. So you can find Shelly or Matt there afterwards, and they'll be happy to have one of those cards and to thank you for coming or visiting us for the first time. We have a selection of merchandise that you can choose from. So, only fill it out if you're willing to rep the brands.
Yeah. All right, and so next is follow us on our socials. We have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We have a lot of new content every week. We've been posting pictures of the new space, so it's a great way to keep in touch. Instagram is my favorite, and you're on it all the time, so I love it. I love staying connected through socials. Yeah.
And finally, I think the last one is volunteer with us. And so it takes people to set up the stage and block off there's a weekly meal for our unhoused neighbors that happens here on Tuesday nights. And so we just do all these things to make this space ready. Our volunteers also, by and large, are the group of people that are just closest with each other. They show up early, they set things up, they know what each other's stories are, which is pretty important. We just show up at 5:30. I know Adam signed up to be a volunteer last week. So we show up at 5:30, 5:45, and just kind of get the space ready for everyone. So when people walk through the door, they can feel nice and welcome. Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so we do have a really cool program that we're working on right now to serve the community. People that are in sober livings and are just starting out and they need some fresh, like, name brand toiletries. Not the off-brand, the name brand is important. And it's an ongoing service.
We don't want none of that Bob Barker, like,
yeah.
prison.
No. None of that prison stuff. No. And then ongoing service projects. So we've been doing it since the beginning. And the basket's a little low. So I'm going to do my part and bring some next week. But if you want to give back to the community, it's an easy, fun way. If you're at Walgreens or wherever, Jewel, and pick something up and put it in the basket.
Yep. And so the way, kind of just a brief overview of how things flow here tonight. So here in a second, we're going to do celebrations. So we'll pass around the mic and just raise your hand. This is just a quick line of the good things that are going. Maybe you have a sobriety day, got a job, passed the GED. Those are some things we've heard in the past few weeks. It gives us an opportunity as a community to really celebrate the good things that are happening together. And it's also kind of service, right? Because that person next to you that's struggling maybe a few days sober, maybe a few years sober and hit a rough patch, it really gives them the opportunity to see how beautiful and full life can be in recovery. And then we'll have about a 15 minute message on a recovery topic that goes into some different sacred texts and what they can teach us about our recovery and spirituality journey. We'll take a quick 3.5 minute pause where we listen, where a song will be playing, and it just kind of gives us a chance to be contemplative and sit there and meditate. I know for some of us, 3 minutes with music sounds like amateur stuff. I'm talking to you, Mesh. And for some of us, sitting there for 3 minutes, even with music, feels like a very long time. But it just gives us an opportunity to recenter. And then we have a special guest storyteller tonight. We have Donald is joining us tonight. So let's hear for Donald. And it's like half lead, half the Drew Barrymore show, but I try not to invade their personal space like that, where we just sit down and talk. They share a little bit about their recovery story, a couple of follow-up questions, just to hear the journey and hopefully hear something that we can carry with ours. And then we'll close out with what we call heartbreaks. So heartbreaks are those things that are just too heavy to carry out of the room by yourself. Those things that you've been struggling with, or those pain points. And a lot of times sharing the heartbreaks opens the door for someone else in the room to come up to you and say, hey, I've been through that too, which is a pretty powerful moment together. It's free recovery community. So those moments help us really take that community thing seriously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks
So
for
now-
the breakdown.
What? The breakdown,
Yeah.
the run through for all the people. So like we mentioned earlier, we'll start with celebration. So Ryan's gonna put about 5 minutes on the clock. For those of you that are online, I know that we have people joining us online from at least one treatment center tonight. You can text either Andy or Louise, and they will get those to me if you want, if you have a celebration, so that the room can celebrate with people. So just tell the person facilitating the case aid there at your treatment center, and we'll be happy to celebrate with you. So let's get the time going and open the floor for celebrations. Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm Craig, and I'm buying a house this week in Brazil, which I'm really excited about. Finally have a place to call home and be established somewhere.
Whoa. Please hold while I book my vacation to Brazil.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I got my first EMTB job after getting my license this week, and I got a new apartment.
Ooh. Then are you moving far away from us? No. Okay, good. Caitlin lives a few doors back.
Hi, I'm Ruben. Starting a new ER job on tomorrow, and also got on the dean's list for nursing school. So.
Hi, I'm Luis. Today is 2 years clean.
And for those of you who didn't notice, we do have a cake for Louise. I might need to send Justin upstairs to grab a knife and a spatula. But we have a cake to celebrate Louise, so let's hear it again for Louise.
My name is Matthew. I'm 10 days shy of a year and a half sober. And this past year, I made the most money I've ever made, like, in a single year at a single job in my entire life. And it wasn't a lot, but, like, it's the first time I've held a job for a year straight ever. So.
Whoa, that's a big one.
Hi, my name is Ed. I had a second interview yesterday in person. I think it went really well out in the burbs. I really want that Illinois state pension. So I just asked you for some good vibes.
Absolutely. Well, one of my favorite things is when you're here like a few months or weeks, you'll start to hear the heartbreaks at the end turn into the celebrations at the beginning, and that's really cool.
Hi, I'm Justin, and my job hunt's over. I accepted a job at United.
Woo!
Hey y'all. I'm Reem, and I have never in the past been able to make like a birthday gathering happen for myself of any kind because I've been too far in the pits, you know. And this year I actually like made a thing happen. I gave up on the perfect idea and instead suggested a thing that was feasible, which was a thrift store scavenger hunt bar crawl kind of vibe. And it was today, and it absolutely fucked. It went great, and it's the first time that I've been able to like do a birthday gathering thing ever for myself. So
Awesome.
I'm very proud.
She went real simple. She went real simple with a scavenger hunt. There was 3 things, real simple. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jacob. Tomorrow I'll have 4 years.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Tyler. I am clear to close on my first condo on Tuesday.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Hello, I'm Matt. After a long year and a half at a job that was pretty miserable, a job fell into my lap, so I'm starting a new job on the 26th.
Woo.
Yes.
My name is Matt. My cat had surgery and did really well and is healing really, really well, so I'm very grateful for that.
Yes. We got time for a couple more. Was there any online? Okay. Oh.
I'm Joe. I'm just grateful because a friend moved out of Chicago and I got a bunch of artwork and plants.
Oh, nice. Nice. Hey, lost a friend, gained some shit, right? Woo! You didn't lose the friend. Hopefully they left for something great. Well, thank you very much, Shelly, and thank you for a good round of celebrations. In recovery, there really is the opportunity to live a pretty good life, right? Like that list of celebrations was good, and it kind of frames it with those things that like maybe weren't that good at first. So, which is always great, right? It's always great when we're able to kind of put one foot in front of the other. So last week we started a new series where we were talking about the importance of community and why community is so important in recovery. We talked a lot about how addiction often thrives in isolation. It's not the only thing that thrives in isolation. I think the big book might say something about nothing good grows in the dark, right? But in community and connection, those same things that might have really tanked us in isolation kind of start to thrive and grow within us when we're able to embrace community. So this week, the next 4 weeks, we're talking about different things that are key to make a community really, really, really strong. And today we're talking about welcome, but the more and more I kind of dived into welcome, I realized the truth about welcome is actually a truth about belonging. A truth about belonging and being able to belong maybe before we have to earn a seat or prove anything to anyone. And in recovery, that belonging is something that can literally save our lives. And if you've came to Free in the past, you've probably met someone that I like to talk about probably more than I should, and that was early sobriety Seth. Does anyone remember the stories of early sobriety Seth? Early sobriety Seth was not an easy person to love. Early sobriety Seth dressed up like a dime store cowboy, and oh, here's a picture. That's actually a picture of not quite sober Seth yet, but early sobriety Seth didn't quite land the same way that Seth today lands, right? I can still be off-putting and polarizing and wear a hat that said I'm not for everyone, but early sobriety Seth, I don't know if it was subconsciously or consciously, was an expert at pushing people away, right? I was an expert at saying the wrong thing to you to try to shock you, because if you got to know me, you wouldn't really like me, right? Early sobriety Seth was just chaotic. I was a dime store cowboy. I maybe had a brief career as a cowboy-themed sex worker, and I loved just wearing the outfits with the bolo ties and the big hats which is the person you met last time. And I said inappropriate things to people. I was always oversharing, and I think that I was not even that subconsciously pushing people away. Because you know what? I knew something about me, and it's that I didn't belong, and I wasn't going to waste my time fitting in just so you could reject me. Because when we were drinking and using, or maybe just feeling alone or separated, the thought of belonging is kind of scary, right? And the people who saved my life in early sobriety weren't the people that you would have expected. It wasn't this fabulous room of cool people that I see sitting in front of me today. I got sober in a town called Springfield, Missouri. Anyone ever know where Springfield, Missouri is? Yeah. Springfield, Missouri is the home of the Assemblies of God Church, okay? And if you know anything about churches, you know they're about as conservative, MAGA, evangelical as they get. So for fabulous thing me, Springfield, Missouri was a place where I just knew I wasn't going to fit in. And I worked this like 2 to 9 shifts, so I had to go to meetings at noon. Anyone ever go to a noon 12-step meeting? The crowd is a little bit different than your 7 p.m. It was Vietnam vets and lesbian construction workers. And these Vietnam vets and lesbian construction workers were not the people that I thought would show me belonging, right? There was literally a guy that reminded me of Otto Hill. Does anyone watch King of the Hill? I mean, he was just like Otto Hill. They'd seen war, they'd seen grief, they'd seen all of these things, but they also knew the power and recovery of making sure people felt welcomed and fit in. They would greet me by my name, they would ask me how I was doing, they would tolerate the crazy stuff that I kept saying, but you know what they didn't do? They didn't try to fix me. They didn't try to tell me what to do or tell me to shape up or give me any of these shame-based feedback things that we so often hear. All they did was love me and was glad that I was on the sobriety journey. They always made sure I had a chair, and they always remembered my name, and they laughed with me and not at me, and that was just something that I wasn't quite used to. They showed me grace, and they loved me until I had the ability to love myself. They knew something that actually took some time for me to learn myself. They taught me that when we reject those people that are messy or those people that don't know how to act right, we could actually kill them. By making them feel not welcome in rooms of recovery, we could make it to where they don't want to come back. And when we don't want to come back, that's a life or death thing that we're dealing with. And one other thing that I learned very early on is people rarely remember what we say to them, but they almost always remember how we made them feel. We ask ourselves questions like, do I feel safe? Do I feel seen? Do I feel like I can breathe? Or do I feel like I can be myself? And one thing I've learned not only in recovery, but also about people is that you can tell a lot about the health of a community by how they treat people they don't know. Those Vietnam vets and lesbian construction workers were a hell of a community that I didn't know I needed. There's some empty note cards here. And you know, we have some people just like that in our community here. I was actually on a phone call this week with a sponsee of mine who'd actually gone back out. And he'd been out for a while, and he was going through a lot of stuff. And, you know, does anyone have those sponsees that just called to check in, and then they say they're going to be here, and then they don't show up? But you're glad that they still feel comfortable calling you? He called me, and he was like, how are Matt and Shelly doing? We have some great people here in our community that are great examples of how to welcome people and how to love and care for people. If you look around the room, you'll probably notice a trend, right? Right? Matt and Shelly are token straight people, just like Martha's our token aunt. We've got token aunt and Matt and Shelly. But when they walk around and they meet people and they engage with people, they do something that stays with people, even if they're not here, even if they go out, even if they're out and about, right? They still remember the way they make people feel, so that moment they're ready to get sober, or maybe if they're just ready to come back and see some people, right? They know that there's a recovery community a recovery community that's ready to welcome them back. How we embrace people that are new can be the difference between them coming back or them staying out on the streets, or maybe disappearing, or it might just be the difference between someone living in isolation and someone living in connection for our spiritual refugees in the room. But for the people that are addicts, it could be the difference between life and death. And welcome isn't politeness. Welcome isn't extroversion, and it isn't necessarily being good with names. Welcome is the practice of allowing people to feel like they belong even when they don't quite know it yet. And some know what I mean, because you've watched it happen. You've seen people that are nice to new people, and you've seen people that are talking shit and suspicious of new people. And you've seen that it's not always the loud or performative people that are good at welcoming people. And Christian scripture actually has a pretty great example of this happening. Does anyone know Zacchaeus, the name Zacchaeus? Anyone in the room? What's the first thing you think of when you hear Zacchaeus?
Was he the one up in the tree?
Yeah, Zacchaeus was a wee little man. Yeah, there's a children's song about Zacchaeus being a wee little man who climbed up in the sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see, right? So Zacchaeus has been kind of reduced to his stature, go figure. Modern Christianity, reducing someone to a physical trait. But there was actually a lot more to Zacchaeus than being a little guy in a big tree, right? Zacchaeus was a tax collector. And if anyone knows anything about the Roman Empire, as a male of a certain age, I think about the Roman Empire every day. Anyone else in the room? In the Roman Empire, tax collectors weren't just these cute little people that you didn't want to hang out with. They were race traders, right? In the Roman Empire, tax collectors were people that the Roman Empire, when they came in and conquered someone, they picked these people out to collect the taxes and the fees. But the taxes weren't, I know right now we probably all feel like the taxes are really putting us through the ringer. I almost made an Israel bomb joke, but I'm not going to. And so the taxes back then, they would literally exploit people to the point where they couldn't survive. They would extract everything out of these communities to build roads and to build palaces for the rich and elite while the poor people struggled. And Zacchaeus was the face of oppression to his entire people. So just to think that Zacchaeus is the person that Jesus decided to welcome in this situation is actually kind of impressive. No one was rooting for Zacchaeus. They were just making fun of him for being up in a tree because he was too short to see this spiritual leader, this guru that was quite the buzz in first century Palestine. And what Jesus does is he calls Zacchaeus by name, and he doesn't require Zacchaeus to do anything to welcome him and accept him in. He notices the outcast, and he invites himself to dinner at Zacchaeus' house, which was insanely culturally risky at the time. The tax collector was not the person you wanted to hang out with if you wanted to be cool with that community in first century Palestine. And sure, Zacchaeus might have been noticed by Jesus, but there's something we should recognize about Zacchaeus too that anyone who might be new in the room should also recognize. Zacchaeus put himself out there, right? He crawled up in that tree. He put himself out there. So if you're new here or you're new in recovery or you're new in any community, it's going to feel uncomfortable to go up to someone and introduce yourself. It's going to feel uncomfortable to call them. It's going to feel uncomfortable to share pieces of your story with some person you asked to be your sponsor after knowing them 2 weeks. But sometimes you got to put yourself out there in order for that welcome to land. You have to take the risk to be exposed. That's why we do coffee at 6:30 every single week. It's because we want to give people the opportunity to come in and meet people and not just be a face in the back of the row. But when Jesus meets Zacchaeus, he tells him, I must stay at your house with you. Must. Zacchaeus is highlighted as this person who doesn't fit in, that is also required for the community to be essential. When we welcome people, we're not just creating a warm and fuzzy place for them to hang out with some friends, right? When we welcome people, we're adding to a community that's going to be more vibrant. When we welcome that guy that was an obvious tweaker, we're creating the opportunity for someone to welcome the next person. The spiritual rock star needs the outcast, and he doesn't lecture him or demand him repentance. He needs him. He needs him. He needs him with faults and all. The crowd might lose it, but Jesus never offers him shame. He only offers him welcome. Zacchaeus doesn't transform first and then get invited. He gets invited and then he transforms. After belonging comes trust, and after welcome comes repair, and after connection comes change. So after all of this happens, after he's invited over, Zacchaeus makes this very bold claim where he decides to give half of his ill-gotten proceeds to the poor. Does that feel like amends? He pays back 4 times what he's taken. And once he belongs, he starts to begin to repair harm. Not because he is threatened or shamed, but because he is seen as a human being in a world that didn't recognize him as a human being. Because in recovery, shame keeps us sick and isolation keeps us stuck. But belonging creates space for recovery to occur. And addiction is not the only thing that thrives in isolation. If we think about our current cultural environment, a lot of what's happening here right now has happened because of isolation. You show up to a group, you're maybe well-intentioned, you're well-meaning, maybe you say the wrong word, you get chewed out for it, you don't come back, you go online, you find a group of like-minded people, and all of a sudden you're in QAnon. Christian nationalism thrives in isolation. And we laugh, but that's what's happened all over the country. As a community and as a people, just as a human being existing in the world, we have to get better at calling people in instead of calling people out. We have to get better at giving people space to create grace. I had a friend the other day where he came to me with some questions about how to love and accept trans people, right? He didn't use all the right words, but he came with the right heart, and we talked about it. When we call people in instead of calling people out, we create space for God to be there. And so many faith traditions understand this truth. In Buddhism, they have a concept called, I'm going to butcher this. I butcher Buddhism every time. I'm sorry, so clock me. Called Sangha, right? Its community is not a reward for enlightenment, but a condition for enlightenment. That sounds pretty similar to things we're talking about in recovery in the Christian tradition, right? You don't meditate into belonging. You belong first. And the same is true here. Transformation doesn't begin with being impressive. It begins with being received. And I was talking to some people, kind of doing a little straw poll of some research. And I think we all have a version of those Vietnam vets, right? We all have that person that talked to you at your first meeting, or that person that greeted you when you were here. I remember the first time Reem came, Reem and Shelly just having a sit-down conversation and just connecting. People who welcomed and accepted us, people who greeted us at our first gathering. And if you don't, I challenge you to stay around after, and I bet you'll find someone. Normally, we watch RuPaul's Drag Race in my apartment upstairs, but I think we're going to watch it down here today. So stick around, hang out, get to know people, and connect. And then once that welcome's been extended to you, once that community's been built, you have to be that person that extends it to other people. And that's why the 12th step says, having had a spiritual awakening, right? When we have that spiritual awakening, it doesn't die with us. We have to share it with others, and we have to be of service. Because welcome isn't a reward for the healed. It's the foundation of a healthy community. People don't earn a seat. They don't audition, and there's no worthiness tests. Just like with any spiritual practices, when we experience belonging, it can't die with us. We don't fully experience belonging until we offer it to someone else. So welcome isn't just how we start. It's how we survive. So here in a second, we're going to listen to a song and do that meditation that I was talking about earlier. I challenge everyone to approach meditation in whatever position feels the best for you. Open your hands. You can look up. You can go around. You can use it as an opportunity to go to the bathroom if you so desire. But we're actually listening to the song Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. All day, me and my boyfriend have been listening to songs trying to find the perfect one. And I think this just gives us a beautiful picture of what a spiritual experience can be like. A little low and they didn't hear anything I just said. So sorry about that, y'all. So this week we have Donald McMath. He's worked in the recovery industry for quite some time. He's been sober for, almost 2 decades now? Oh, 12. I was really rounding up on that one. For well over a decade. Is that better? So I want to welcome to the little living room area here, Donald. So come on up. There you go.
Can I stand up?
Stand up. Ooh, I don't know. Donald, are you a little bit of a diva, Donald?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It just comes out better.
Okay. I'll sit right here.
So, my name is Donald, of course. Oh, I have to talk in the mic?
Yep.
I feel like I'm about to do karaoke. I'm from the west side of Chicago. Actually, I'm from the south side, but we moved to the west side after my mother got divorced. I'm the oldest of 5 boys, which means I had to learn a lot of things like how to cook. Well, my mother got divorced from my father, so I had to learn a lot of things early on. Like at 10 years old, I had to learn how to change diapers, make baby bottles for my youngest 2 brothers, and so we started out on the south side, moved to the west side, to around my father's side of the family, where I witnessed a lot of things I shouldn't have witnessed, which pretty much became my core values. I had a family at that time where that sat around drinking and smoking. So I thought at that time that's what I was supposed to do as I got older. Like I said, that became like my core values. Getting high, getting drunk as much as possible. So at about 13 years old, I was in junior high school. My getting high career actually started then when some of the kids in the neighborhood, we used to call them the Sawyer boys. They was some little badass little boys, little gangbangers. So every day they would like lose joints. Back then it was joints, They would lose joints in the classroom, and guess who would find them? So I would find it, I would, pick the joint up off the floor, and then at lunchtime I'd go home and I'd sneak in the closet, no pun intended. I'd get in the closet and I'd, smoke half of it maybe, because I was just starting out. And then I'd, go cook me about 10 chicken wings and go back to class and not know what happened the rest of that day. So that's actually how it started. And then I'm not sure how I started smoking weed regularly, but I did. And it got to the point where I was doing it before school, lunch, and then after school for the rest of the day. All right. And then eventually that stopped being enough. All right. So I grew up around uncles and aunts, and they were already well into their career as drug addicts. So they were doing things like smoking PCP, which that was next on my list. Well, smoking and drinking, and then, ironically, they never turned me on to anything. They wouldn't even allow me, so I would go to the streets with somebody else and say, hey, I want to try this. So eventually I started drinking and smoking PCP, and I was doing that for a while. I had a few incidents doing that. And then eventually, I found out that the older people, not just my family, but in the neighborhood were like drinking cough syrup and taking sleeping pills, which caused a heroin-like high. So I was doing that for quite a while. That was actually the best high that there was at the time. So then that played out. All of this is going on, and I'm trying to make it through high school. I was gonna drop out, but then, because I wanted to just be grown and stuff. I wanted to be grown, and I didn't want to, I thought the high school kids, they were too young for me, So I was gonna drop out, but I didn't. I ended up staying through school, but I was high all the time, whatever was popular. So I'm doing everything that that was under the sun to do it. Any kind of drugs, drinking, hanging out with my older uncles and aunts. And then, you know, the SERP thing played out. All right, the serpent and pill thing played out. So ironically, my younger brother, who didn't survive his addiction, okay, he actually was the one that turned me on to heroin. And that became my soulmate for many years. I started out snorting, and I was doing it every day. You know, of course, I was doing it every day that I could, every day that I could hit a lick and make me some money to get high. I was doing it as much as possible. So I started doing that. I started out snorting, and then I started having my treatment episodes. I start, you know, checking into treatment. And ironically, that's when, a lot of times in treatment, you can learn some other shit too, you know, as far as hustles and other highs. That's some other shit you can learn, and that's exactly what I did, you know. So I met some guys in treatment, you know. Sometimes in treatment, you meet your best friend, you know. Yeah, I love you, man, you know. And you ain't even known this motherfucker for more than a month, you know what I'm saying? And y'all the best of friends. So I did this. This was part of my MO. This became part of my MO. So this first, maybe second or third time I was in treatment, I met this guy, Tim P. And we became roommates, a disaster, because we was getting high. I think we was getting high in treatment, if I can recall, you know. We were still getting high in treatment. And so he had a friend that was doing heroin, but his friend was shooting up. So I was like, wow, look at him. He looked like he's feeling it. I'm not feeling it like he's feeling it, you know. So I was like, ding, 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 you know, I want to try that, you know, because I was already trying everything under the sun. I already had by that point, you know, everything had played out, everything that had played out, you know, I had tried already and was doing it and had my little run of. But again, heroin became my soulmate. So then I learned how to shoot. Actually, he did it for me the first time, and then after that, I became what do you call them, doctors? The phlebotomist. I was great, you know. And I started doing that, and then quickly my life started to just go downhill. Then I started overdosing. You know, I would go into whatever bathroom was available, whether it was a McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Walgreens, Aldi's. Sometimes I would wake up on the floor in some of those bathrooms, and I hear the fire trucks outside coming to get my ass out of the bathroom. And then I wake up there, you know, do the Narcan stuff for me, and I wake up and like, what are you doing? You know, you blew my high. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna wake up, I was fine, you know, and take me to the hospital. I hopped right out of the ambulance with my last $10 because they already blew the first $20 that I just spent, and then I run right back to the spot to give me some more. That was part of the sickness, though. I kept going through the same cycle, waking up dead on bathroom floors, you know, and getting my life saved by this new thing actually called Narcan. So finally, after about 20 years of all this back and forth, getting nowhere, running on a treadmill in my life, running, going nowhere, in and out of treatment, back and forth out of treatment, running out of town, leaving Chicago, lived like 10 other states thinking it was gonna save me, but it didn't. I always ended up back here because I was missing my soulmate, you know. So I ended up coming back. And then this last time I was in treatment, I went to treatment, and a friend of mine, Lakeshore Treatment Center, is not there no more, it's something else now. Right there off of Lawrence or whatever, it's on Marine Drive. And it used to be Lakeshore, so I was a frequent flyer there. So this last time I went, a friend of mine that was there with me, another frequent flyer actually, told me that they were gonna send him to a treatment center in Moultrie, Georgia, all paid for. Well, the flight. I was like, a free flight, a free trip? Okay, sign me up, you know, because, You know, I love a good flight to anywhere. So I went. I had all plans of just taking the free trip and taking a week off, getting my body back together, back sober, so that I could come back sober where my body was fresh and start getting high some more. That was my plan. Just so happened, my roommate, his name was Chris Williams, I think I was 12 years old, older than he was, young white kid, smart as a whip. And we started talking, and he taught me about how to feed my brain and feed my spirit. You know, he taught me about, I used to talk about, hey, I die for the ones I love, but he taught me about what would you do for someone you don't love? Would you save somebody that you didn't love? You know, what would you do for a stranger is the point. And so much, and we just started talking, and then we started talking about becoming counselors. So I ended up staying just because I guess he feels some kind of void of a friendship that I didn't have at that time. So I stayed. It was a year's program. I stayed, and he was my best friend, and you know, we fed off one another, and we were so tight that people would call him my name, and they would call him my name, or you know what I mean. Yeah, okay. And I stayed, and it saved my life because, again, I had plans on, hopefully they were going to give me a ticket back home in a week and come back and finish off what I was doing. So I stayed. I lasted 6 months before I did get kicked out of some crazy stuff because, you know, I wasn't well yet. So I was still doing some stupid shit. I didn't get high or anything like that. So they basically gave me a bus ticket out of town. So I went to Abilene, Texas, 100,000 rednecks, basically. But it also continued to help save my life. Them people were passionate about recovery. You know, of course there was like racism down there, but it still helped save my life, and that's where my career started also. I started working at a treatment center down there. So I stayed down there another year and a half or so, or a year or so. Finally came back to Chicago, got certified as a counselor after a while, and yeah, and now I work in the business to try to help save lives, basically. Because basically, you know, that's where it's at. You know, it's not just trying to get sober because people are dying out there, you know. So I look at it as I'm trying to help people save their lives. I'm trying to help them come over to where I'm at because it's so much better on this side than that side. See, I was at the point where being sober did not feel normal. So I had to flip that script and get used to feeling, more normal as a person of sobriety, as a sober person. So finally it started to click. Eventually it should all start to click. All of my many, you know, treatment episodes, at least about 25, 30, I don't know how many at that point, you know. But everything started to click. And then having him enter my life, whether it's divine intervention or whatever, and I always credit him with helping to save my life, Chris Williams, down in treatment. But whatever. So I finally was able to cross over, and now I'm on this side of the spectrum. Look, my life is I still have some challenges in life, but the easiest part of my life now is actually staying sober. It's all this other shit I have to deal with, you know, being responsible, trying to be an adult and all that shit, you know, you know, trying to love, and, you know, all that other stuff. I can't forget, of course, that what I've been through, but it's so behind me now that I can feel comfortable enough to say that today I'm not going to get high. You know, I'm not going to do any of that. You know, and my life is so much better without it. And now I don't need it to make me feel normal anymore. I feel normal without it. Okay. listen, I'm not necessarily where I want to be completely yet, of course, but I'm going to keep pushing and try to get there, you know, because I don't have that crutch anymore to get in my way or to trip me trying to get there. You know what I'm saying? And as long as my spirit is okay, you know, setbacks will hit differently. My setbacks hit differently now because my spirit is much stronger. It used to be, oh shit, this didn't go my way. Let me go get high, you know. Let me go do something destructive. Let me go catch a case. You know what I'm saying? Stupid shit. But I don't do stupid. I still make mistakes, don't get me wrong. I still make mistakes, but yeah, at this point, staying sober is the easiest part of my life. I don't allow myself to adhere to societal expectations of who I should be, who I should hang with, how I should act, how I should talk. You know what I'm saying? Because my only goal right now is to be a difference in whomever's life that come my way, whether they're black, white, straight, gay, blue, green, from over there, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? So I am not gonna live up to what society expects me to be or who they expect me to be, you know. I just want to choose to be a difference. That's it. And imagine if all of us were, how much better this life would be. And I don't want to be like preachy and all that, you know what I'm saying? But that's just how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Especially in this world, the way it is today, you know. But, you know, I am higher today than any drug has ever made me. You know, I'm respected. I get respect basically mostly by how I carry myself, but also with my comeback. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about the comeback, you know. Yeah. And I feel like I make somewhat of a difference today. Yeah. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. You know, we always close with just one question and the guest storyteller. And so I'm going to ask it for you because we are running out of time. If there's someone out there that's struggling or one thing that you want people to know that maybe is trying to see if sobriety is for them or something you wish you would have heard your first week of sobriety, what's that one piece of advice you would have given?
Just keep fighting. As long as you have a breath to breathe, you have a chance.
Awesome.
You know? And that, remember, all you're going to get is consequences. You're either going to live on the consequences side or you're going to live on the reward side.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the sober side, that's when the rewards are going to start coming. But if you're stuck still out there, you know, not running the streets, but living that lifestyle, you're going to get consequences. So you got to decide which piece do you want, the consequences or the reward.
Yeah. And one thing that I heard in your story, you know, the communities of drugs and alcohol are pretty darn welcoming, right? They're pretty darn welcoming. You know, if I wanted to go get high right now, I could probably do it pretty easy. You know, if I wanted to go make a few friends in sobriety, man, that shit's a lot harder. But what I did hear in your story and something that I was talking about, it reminded me of something I was saying earlier, is that like, what we do in community and recovery is offer those things that we were seeking in addiction in a way that doesn't ruin our lives. And so I definitely heard that. So thank you so much, Donald, for coming today. Do it one more time. Okay, so before we move on to heartbreaks, we do take a quick pause for generosity. So it does take some money to make this place flow, and it looks like we need to buy some new chairs after tonight. So you can either scan here if you believe in what we're doing, what we're building, the direction that we're moving as a community. We just ask that we do it all together. So feel free to scan there. There's also some cash box back there if you want to give in person. And so, pause for a second. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we close out the night with heartbreaks. So those are the things that you're struggling with, you're carrying that are just a little too heavy. Matt, do you want to do the honors? So feel free to just raise your hand, share what's on your heart, those things that are too heavy to carry out of the room by yourself. So.
Hey y'all, Reem again. I've mentioned before one of my friends being indicted by the FBI in association with peaceful protesting of ICE, and now another 2 friends have been had their shit kicked in by ICE up in nearby states, and yeah, just the extent of the violence is absolutely fucking staggering. Both of the 2 who got their shit kicked in were literally they were recording. They weren't like, they were recording and they were whistling. That's all, you know. And I know we're living in a time period of intense violence, and my friends aren't even the ones being abducted, but god fucking damn, y'all. And I don't feel like I don't know how to fucking handle or process that shit, but yeah. For anyone else in here who's also fighting or who is also connected to people who are being targeted or all of that, like, fucking hearts with you, man.
Thank you, Reem.
I'm gonna go. I am leaving well, I've already left. I left my long-term relationship after a year of experiencing domestic violence.
Oh. We'll definitely be praying for you on that one.
So it occurs to me when you told the story of Zacchaeus that what Jesus told Zacchaeus was, the world is not complete without you. And I had to say goodbye to a friend who the world did not want her here, and she persevered. She kind of made me love her. And the world was not complete without Robin. And I don't think I can ever hear that story in the same way again.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I've been struggling for the last couple of weeks to stay sober. I really don't have the motivation to get back into the program, so I want to get through this and get sober again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, I'm Aaliyah. So I usually get seasonal depression. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but I've been like sleeping a lot because I was like being a little bit more social. But I feel like I'm starting to withdraw a little bit. Not so much intentionally because I want to do more things and be social. But I'm having a hard time, and I have like little cravings here, and it's always really hard for the winter for me. But just like, keep me in your prayers. Hopefully I'll see you guys around the rooms a little bit more. I'll come out more. But yeah, I've just been struggling a little bit, but yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Misael. I'm happy to be here, but there is a bit of a heartache. I just moved to Lakeview. I have 2 very, very incredible partners, and I've gone through this heartache for a while, but just leaving the people that got me sober and like leaving them physically, like my sister and my mom, and just kind of like living my own life. And my mom, she's always ill, she's always sick, and it's just taken a while for me to also enjoy my own garden and enjoy my own accomplishments and everything I've done in the last 3.5 years of being meth free and being alcohol free. And I want to just enjoy my garden and look at it, but it's still a little black and white right now, and it's a little hard. because I'm thinking about the people that are at home. If my mom needs me for something, if she needs to lift something heavy, you know, and these are just thoughts that come into my mind several times a day. And it sometimes blocks me from just being happy and just being able to enjoy my beautiful time, you know, in Lakeview with this community and stuff. So I just want to, I need some help carrying that.
Absolutely. There's 5 seconds. Good. Anyone else? And I just want to echo Alea's heartache. I mean, I feel like I've just talked to so many people, especially like this week and last week, where like that winter seasonal depression's getting real. You know, the snow ain't cute anymore. The cold is hitting a little bit harder. And you're right, people naturally kind of withdraw. And without that community that we need so deeply, right? Me and Misael talked about this this weekend at the gym. It's just, it's a tough time for people. So make sure that we're relying on each other, getting numbers, talking to people, reaching out to that person you haven't seen in a few weeks. And doing all that. If there's something that you're carrying, but maybe this room with all these strangers was a bit too much, there's several people sprinkled throughout the room that I'm sure would be happy to sit with you. I know Peter would be happy to sit with you. Martha would be happy. Shelly and Matt and other Matt. Basically like anyone in this section right here in the front. Oh, or other people. Don't leave without talking to someone. Reem would be happy to sit with you. Don't leave without, because that's the beauty of community, and we don't have to do things in isolation alone anymore. So that comes to the end. We're 1 minute and 36 seconds over, so sorry about that. What's up? Oh, Andy was looking at me like I missed something. What? Oh, yeah, there is. We'll get to it. Girl. Like I mentioned earlier, thank you all so much for coming tonight. Stop by the connections table, fill out a Connect card so we can stay in touch. If you want to grab coffee, I'd love to grab coffee with anyone. Just write your number in the comment section and I'll reach out to you this week, or if you did it last week. And we'll meet for coffee. We'll get you some merchandise. And if you want to stay and watch the newest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, we'll do it right here in this room after this. And so, we close every week with a prayer. And so the prayer that's on the screen right now, approach prayer in any way that you feel comfortable approaching prayer. As a kid, I was told to fold my hands and bow my head. As an adult, I do it like this, probably because that's just who I am. So anyways, if you'll join me in this prayer printed on the screen. Through this very merit of mine, may every single sentient being eliminate all forms of negativity and practice virtue forevermore. Amen. Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you back next week.